Kitco News special coverage of the AIBC Summit is brought to you by Coin Payments. Crypto payments made easy.
We're speaking now with Anastasios Papakonstantinous. He is a growth startup advisor for the tech sector, and we are talking about all things to do with the tech sector, the startup ecosystem, as well as cryptocurrencies and how these two sectors are intertwined in today's environment. Welcome to the show, Anastasios.
Thanks very much, David.
Very interesting profile you have. We're going to be talking about your work towards the end, and I'm personally interested in how startups can survive in today's environment, difficult environment for all businesses, startups especially. But first, let's talk about the current crypto winter that we're currently in. Now, you and I were talking offline about how you think that this may be near a bottom. Can you elaborate on that?
Right, absolutely. So, we've seen this sort of bubble, which hasn't really deflated, but burst. I think we're pretty much near the middle of it. So we do have another maybe year or so of turmoil and volatility. But what I would definitely want to focus on is what will come out of it.
Yes.
So obviously Web3 has some challenges and whatnot, primarily with data privacy, security, the lack of infrastructure and its lack of scalability. But still, we do have the decentralized model that is lacking some trust. So I do feel that these technological innovations will remain. Definitely, VCs will be seeing that reevaluating their models and reevaluating, getting back to the basics pretty much. Getting back to the basics on what would be the immediate added value, adding some trust on top of that, and then that will be the end of the crypto winter.
The end of the crypto winter. The last crypto winter we had post 2017, 2018 to 2019 lasted 2 years or so. During that time, if you recall, were there many developments in the Web3 space, DeFi space, that spearheaded the growth that we saw later in 2020?
Right, absolutely. And same thing happened with the burst of the bubble of Web 2. Right now, we do have the same thing with Web 3. So even though the previous one in 2017 really propelled some sort of technical innovation being redone and maybe reevaluated, I think the same thing we're going to be looking at here again.
The startup scene is something that you're focused on. How is the crypto winter right now affecting startup capital? Okay,
that's a fair question. Obviously, VCs are very, skeptical in what sort of a particular aspect of crypto and maybe what sort of added value they can add to the fintech market as a whole. So we're definitely going to be seeing that sort of turmoil in the next maybe couple of years to remain.
So give me let's role play right now. So we're in this environment where liquidity is drying up. That might be an understatement. In the case of FTX, liquidity has disappeared, vanished overnight. So you're an investor and I'm a startup guy, and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, hey, I've got this great idea, Web3, blockchain, AI, whatever buzzwords I want to throw at you. How enthused are you right now?
Right. So I would definitely see the underlying added value. I mean, I'm still enthusiastic about it. I'm still in the market, absolutely. But I want to see what kind of idea will be able to be transposed into actual services for the end users. That's how what we're calling, getting back to the basics mean.
A lot of investors or VCs who may not have specialized in blockchain or cryptocurrencies, but still have capital to deploy in the tech sector, they might be looking at the FTX case. They might be seeing what Sam Bankman-Fried has done, which is to have deceived a lot of investors and his clients and his own employees. And they might be thinking, my sense of trust in the whole blockchain ecosystem is diminishing. Would that affect his attitude towards deploying capital in this space? Would he now see a young startup guy in the blockchain sector and think, I don't want to invest in another Sam Bankman-Fried?
Well, absolutely. It's part of the market, but I think we're all getting smarter. We're all getting what I mentioned before, getting back to the basics. Redefining that success element because the underlying technology is there. The underlying added value is still there. That hasn't really changed. what has changed is, maybe the aspiration, or maybe the speed on and lack of risk management on how these sort of initiatives or these sort of ventures are being assessed. So we are all getting smarter at that.
Let's talk about some real applications that you're working on. You're working on education and AI and how you're integrating the two areas. Tell us about that.
So, AI within education, there's a couple of startups which I'm mentoring, and I'm also an early stage investor. Pretty much has to do with how AI can figure out which kinds of skills are being lacking in a particular personalized environment, so in particular individual, and how that can bridge that gap. So artificial intelligence, obviously you got to fit it with a lot of data points. We're still in the very, very early stages of that, but the underlying added value is there.
Okay, can you expand on this a little further? How does it work exactly, education and AI, or AI in education? Which sector of the education are we talking about?
Right. So it's primarily after senior high school, if you will. So. Okay. After 12th grade, that these students are able to figure out if they want to go to particular professions or college or university, and which particular skill set they will need in which profession to move on forward, and how those can be evaluated, and AI can provide some insights on some even data points that are not even present, if you will, or haven't been externalized.
Wait, so the student is using the AI, or?
Yeah, the student is using the AI.
For what purpose?
To figure out these skills that they will need in order to pursue a particular either career or apprenticeship or...
So I'm letting a computer decide my life? Is that basically?
Right. So that pretty much has to do with the computer providing you with insights. Okay. The actual decision is obviously...
Of course. Yeah. All right, so this is fascinating to me. So this could have been useful when I was in high school. So I'm a high school senior. I have no idea what I want to do with my life.
Right.
So I'm using this software, this AI. Walk me through the process. Is it evaluating my background, my personality, and my skill sets? What is it? What are the characteristics or qualities that it's evaluating right now?
So obviously there's a lot of user preferences. Okay. There's the historical data, geographical location, and maybe cultural trends as well. In addition to that, market trends and maybe some insights on how the market opportunities and market professions can change in the foreseeable future. Obviously, AI is not able to imagine what's going to happen. That's pretty much a human characteristic. But what AI...
Humans get it wrong all the time too, so I don't...
That is true, but figuring out patterns where we as human cannot see them is the added value right there.
Very interesting. Now, I'm curious as to which sectors the AI that you're talking about has been, or which sectors have been promoted the most. In other words, has the AI identified a trend in the workspace that it thinks will be more important in the future?
Right. So at this point, it pretty much varies on different industries. Obviously, we are seeing...
Which profession is going to be the most popular or important in the next 20 years?
Okay, so up until now, we do know I can answer for my humble opinion has to do for the next 2 to 5 years maybe. So climate tech is going to be huge. Clean tech, anything ESG enabler or ESG related is going to be obviously huge. So having like a positive rather than a neutral impact on the environment. So carbon absorbing, material, or other sort of recycling that is utilizing maybe up to 100% of previous material, or and how that can be reutilized is going to be within this decade. We'll have a focus on that.
So it's recommending a lot of engineers.
Oh, absolutely. Engineering and technology is just the tool. It's just the base, just the framework for these sort of ideas to fluster.
I wonder if the AI will recommend different professions based on the country of origin of the students, or the jurisdiction in which it operates. I wonder if the trend of perhaps what you just mentioned, ESG, clean tech, maybe in Europe it's a trend. I wonder if that's the same in America or Canada or in other parts of the West.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, Europe is much further ahead than the States. I mean,
Yes.
if you look at the United States, obviously California is further ahead than the other states
Yes.
in terms of ESG. But professions or even initiatives in that particular space will be primarily focused on the lowest hanging fruit. So at this point, have to focus on recycling, and those adjacent or core professions will be more embellished, if you will.
Somebody might look at this as a contrarian indicator. He might think, all my classmates are now going into clean tech. There's going to be so much competition. Let me go do something else where there's less competition, and I can probably get paid a good amount of money not competing. Has anyone ever told you that?
There's definitely these market trends
Yeah.
that are maybe oversaturating a particular type of market, but I do believe that we're all getting better. Failing fast, maybe failing forward is the way to go, and becoming better and creating more opportunities in that sort of environment. So I think there's enough for everyone, and I think it's a very, very underdeveloped market, especially in Europe and the States. Obviously, I do have various discussions with Saudi Arabia as well, and they have put a lot of effort and a lot of focus on ESG as well.
Last question on the startup, and I'm going to move on to another topic. Has the AI ever recommended or shown any professions that may be less popular in the future, or perhaps even will become obsolete in the future? Does it work the opposite way?
Right. Okay. So there are some false positives, if you will.
Okay.
So that's part of the training of the model.
Okay.
Any sort of machine learning model. I mean, you gotta train it, feeding more data and whatnot. Of course.
Right.
I mean, they're full of errors. That's why I mentioned before. AI will provide insights, will provide forecasts, will provide, hey, here's an idea. Then it's up to the humans to actually, select and agree upon whether it would be, one or.
I think everyone, doesn't matter what they do, they just want to know if they're going to be replaced by a robot in 30 years. Me especially. AI can deepfake my voice and my face and ask questions. You don't need a human asking you questions in 30 years.
Okay.
I'm just giving you one facetious example, but just generally speaking, yeah.
Partially true, but there's interplay. For instance, if you're taking that example, there's an interplay between us right now,
Of course.
and we're getting deeper into some particular areas. So, for instance, you might see, my facial expression, see, hey, I mean, this person is more intertwined with, fintech rather than, clean tech. So maybe I'll go that direction. Any machine learning, any AI model is as good as you train it to be.
Yeah.
And it's just a tool.
I think you're giving me a hint there to talk about fintech. So let's talk about fintech. Web3 is something that you've talked about a lot. I'm curious as to what the next big trends within Web3 are going to be. And Web3 is a pretty broad topic in itself, so maybe we can break that down for the audience.
All right, absolutely. I mean, my humble opinion is, there's a burst of a huge bubble right now. And we definitely will be going back to reassessing with heightened importance in terms of factors of what is actually an added value rather than just hedging or betting. But I think there's going to be a lot of compliance and regulation happening. Data privacy and security were always challenges within Web3. Having scalable infrastructure is another one, but of a medium type of risk. But I think regulations, in addition to even the regulating smart contracts as well, are going to be the newer trends or the foreseeable trends, in my humble opinion.
Okay, very interesting. And next-gen payments is something you like to talk about. I'm always curious. Well, we're always curious as to how we're going to be paying and transacting in the future, right? Is it? Are we certainly going to be heading towards a cashless society?
Right. I mean, we need, at some point in time, we will be carrying most of our wealth or our convertible wealth with us. So definitely we're getting towards a cashless society. I mean, there's various ideas out there. For instance, tokenization is a disruptive, blockchain-based, innovative way of payment, for instance. Obviously, the mobile wallets with a personalized mobile wallets, I think it's going to be with their own wealth calculators, with their own risk calculators, going to be an immersive 360 kind of approach.
I think tokenization is really going to change the game for a lot of assets. Real estate, for example, I've heard from multiple people. I've seen ads here for companies that provide services that tokenize real estate, and then you can sell it on the open market. It makes it more liquid. There's probably challenges to that as well. But yes, tokenization is huge. What other areas could benefit from tokenization? I mentioned real estate as being one.
Right. I mean, definitely we've seen the same thing happening with art, music, gaming, and it's going to be definitely progressing to pretty much all industries as we're moving along. Yeah.
I was here in Malta. I was walking down an alley. I was getting some street food, and they wouldn't take my credit card or my debit card. It's cash only. Very disappointed. Right. But when's that going to change, Anastasios?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but still, we're definitely progressing to more interconnected environment. And
I'm not saying it needs to change. Maybe some people want to be paid in cash, right? I don't know.
But since we're more in a harmonized, simplified, unified environment, I think it will change. Okay. Obviously, it's like markets are changing, professions are falling out of grace and then becoming obsolete, and then moving to more, innovative, even professions and trends and even payment solutions. I mean, they're all interconnected.
And in the future, these payment solutions will they be done in digital fiat currency, like what we have now, essentially with my debit card, or will it be done through the blockchain with cryptocurrencies?
Well, I think initially we're going into a hybrid. Sort of solution, if you will. So in a hybrid platform. So we're definitely going to be seeing both of them, because as we're moving along, digital literacy and financial literacy, in addition to blockchain adoption, which is going to be coming through regulation and the increase of regulation in that particular market, are going to be having the trends becoming more of a hybrid approach into payments.
And let me present to you a hypothetical scenario, and you can evaluate how likely this is going to be. In some future utopia or dystopia, the government will pay everybody using central bank digital currencies. Everyone will store it in some sort of wallet that either the government provides or you can buy through a private enterprise. Payments will be done electronically, peer-to-peer, either through the CBDC or with another cryptocurrency. And in this environment, there's no more need for a financial institution. Banks, as we know, will become obsolete, and all your transactions will be tracked and traced by authorities. Is this possible?
Right. I mean, for that to happen in the utopia or dystopia, as you mentioned, I mean, there's definitely got to be a lot more trust and a lot more adoption into Web3 and into blockchain. Right now, I don't foresee that happening, at least in the foreseeable future.
Okay. Is there any? Please.
I mean, a hybrid approach, a hybrid payment solution, as we mentioned before, it does make sense. But more of a becoming fully decentralized won't really happen in the next maybe 10 years or so. Okay.
Is there any incentive for governments to push the use of blockchain technologies right now, or to promote it?
Okay, I mean, at this point, it's already being, as a technology, in terms of efficiency, in terms of scalability, and in terms of effectiveness, some smart contracts. I mean, I've seen some case studies that they are thinking of utilizing those as well, but only in terms of utilizing their added value of their efficiency and scalability.
Following the FTX case, authorities are in the U.S. in particular are more concerned about regulation. Janet Yellen, for example, Secretary of the Treasury, rather, she just published a note saying that more regulation needs to happen, a very long note. Is this good or bad for the industry when you think about it?
I think it's good. Why? Because obviously that will bring in definitely more compliance, and simple users that want to get into the space will be able to trust the space. So there's going to be compliance, there's going to be regulation, there's going to be some sense of security, and that will be increasing. Obviously, we are in the teething problems of nurturing this new hype, but as it's being more adopted, as people are being more blockchain literal, and that's how blockchain will be adopted and better adopted.
Anastasios, final segment, I'd like to talk about startups.
Right.
It's a topic that's dear to my heart because many of my friends are in the startup ecosystem. Let me just ask you how you would evaluate a startup. So if I were a startup, and I'm not going to tell you what sector, just any sector. It could be tech, could be medical, could be media, it doesn't matter. What would you ask me? I say to you, Anastasios, I have an idea for you. What are the first questions you would have to ask me?
All right, so I would start basically with, obviously, which particular market is it? And what's the systemic disruption, global impact, global growth potential, and a fourth one, I would say, or maybe fifth one, would be grit. I mean, how passionate are you? I mean, it's not just passion or excitement or enthusiasm or all these buzzwords. It's like grit. How determined is somebody to make it work? And there's a lot of teething problems in startups. I mean, I've been in 3 thus far. Some were great. I'm not going to be mentioning. Some were pretty interesting. I did manage to sell my own company back in the day, privately exited. Still, it is definitely, again, a volatile environment. So you have to have people within each initiative that have the grit element.
You mentioned the word global several times. Does it need to have a global impact for you to be interested as an investor?
At this stage, yes, because as things are, evolving and changing, market trends are, intertwined. So, right now we're in Central Europe. The entire European region is one market. North America is another market, and then all of these markets are somewhat intertwined.
Okay. And for a startup to be successful, you mentioned grit, you mentioned global impact. What are are there any financial metrics that you would be evaluating, or is it too early at the seed stage?
In that particular stage, true, obviously, foreseeable revenue and what does make sense. Whether from the financial aspect, what are the strategic partnerships in place or that need to happen? And of course, early stage revenue is always a great indicator that there is product market fit on the MVP, which is pretty much, my personal sweet spot.
Okay, can you give us some examples of sectors or types of businesses that you think will perform well in this current environment?
All right, so
something that will have a global impact, in your words.
I think that as we're progressing, the ecosystem approach on newer industries is again can be globalized. For instance, in healthcare, the ecosystem in nurturing and mentoring and training and even merchandising with healthcare professional and nurses and whatnot is a very, very interesting initiative. We did touch upon a fintech, we did touch upon a climate tech, but yeah, health tech as well. It's becoming even more streamlined.
Health tech is another sector that's going to be, I wouldn't say dominated, but more utilized by AI, correct? There's going to be a lot more artificial intelligence in hospitals, providing doctors with data, providing professionals with advice. Is that the trend, you think?
I'm thinking that extended reality or even IoT is much more inclined with health tech. AI, of course, can provide insights and whatnot. Have large data sets, and big pharma is definitely focused on that, on how to see in early signals of various diseases and whatnot. But The lowest hanging fruit, as I see it, in terms of healthcare initiatives, is of course, a more U.S. or North American ecosystem on clinicians, of course, and then a globalized environment where IoT can get better signals in terms of remote support or remote assistance.
Anastasios, it's a pleasure speaking with you.
David, thanks so very much.
Thank you, and good luck on your venture and your startups that you're working with. Thank you for watching Kitco News. Stay tuned for more. I'm David Lin, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Kitco News special coverage of the AIBC Summit is brought to you by Coin Payments. Crypto payments made easy.